Innovative, revolutionary, stellar development, purest universal knowledge. In a transformative, futuristic design. The Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit. The very first new evolutionary spaceship technology has been rolled out for mass production. Our Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit is constructed from high-quality materials carefully selected by our team of experts. Embedding the essence of the new GANS plasma science and technology, it uses collective plasma field technology for changing and enhancing the environment of the body of the man. This new plasma enhancement changes the environment of the body to allow it to return to its natural, balanced energetic condition, as in the womb of the mother, allowing every cell in the body of the man to find its natural, original field strength balance. The shape and field distribution in this new space plasma technology replicates the inner structure of the universe and replicates the balance fields from which the man was created at the point of inception in the womb of the mother, not only receiving balance in the physical, but also in the emotional sense too. For the first time in the history of man, a system has been developed and delivered which not only enhances the physical body of the man, but also enhances the emotional part of the user of the system, hence reducing and eliminating many problems that could not be solved in the world of science, to bring the body of the man into near perfection, as at the time of birth. This new spaceship technology can be within the reach of every man today and can be ordered by medical practitioners, sports specialists and healthcare centers. The Universal Enhancement Spaceship Unit, the future you have been waiting for, is here. The journey from space to spaceship technology has started. Every order is subject to a contractual agreement and might require additional accessories priced separately for applications according to each case. You can order or contact us at office@at.kfm.global for additional information.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. This is the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute 39th Public Testimonial Meeting for Monday, February 10th, 2020. I'm your host, Flint Mulhausen, along with Rick Crammond. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Rick.
Hi, Flint. Yes. And yes, welcome everyone to the 39th Public Testimonials meeting. Been doing this for quite some time here. Nearly, it's always been once a month, hasn't it, since we started? So
yes, a little over 3 years.
That many months.
Yeah, 3 years and 3 months. Doesn't seem like it.
Alrighty, well, we've got quite a few people attending here today, and hopefully we'll have some interesting testimonials. I would suggest the One Cup, One Life testimonials would be a great way to get started if anybody has something to show that way. I do have some pictures that we can go off of, but it'd be nice if there was a live demo or a live showing of someone's replication of the One Cup, One Life experiment that Mr. Keshe has recommended. And I remind our attendees they can put their virtual hands up in order to speak, and panelists can go ahead as they wish. So does that sound good for a way to start?
Yeah,
So,
sure.
does anybody have something they would like to bring into our workshop here today? Well, it may take some time to warm people up and for them to get their experiments and pictures and video together. So I guess I'll have to get into the file here and have a look. Let me get a couple of pictures up. Here's one that's quite nice. Okay, you should be able to see that. And this is from Corrine. I think it was posted on Facebook. And seems to be a nice example of the one life, cup of life as it's known as. And we can see the nano-coated copper coil in the center. Seems to have a very nice nano coating on it. We see the bare copper coil on the right side here, and we see the zinc plate as well. And they'll be connected with wires that go down to a used battery, used AA cell battery. And there's some other pictures of that particular unit, which I can also show. I think I'll just share the desktop, and that way it'll be easier. Just a second here. Okay, you can see the battery connection and the wiring and so on in that particular cup of life. And she did an interesting sort of setup here where there's 3 tubes with like a health pen type setup, a pain pen type setup inside these tubes, and they are actually plugged into the wall outlet. So we have the negative or ground, and the common, and the power wire of this setup, each 2 separate coils, and then in front of that is the cup of life. So it'd be interesting to get some feedback on whether that has made a difference, or what was in mind with these 3 kind of electrodes, you could say. Okay, that's one person's. We've got some others that we can have a look at here. This is from Alice Plasma Labs, and there's a few pictures of that unit. We can see a side view and an overhead view. Again, the same basic setup with the nano-coated coil in the center, the plain copper coil, and then on the other side, the zinc plate. Again, hooked together with the nano-coated copper coil in the center connected to the negative of the battery, and the other two, the zinc plate and the copper coil, connected together at the positive end of the battery. Okay, got some more. This replication is from someone named Camaria, and there's a number of pictures from different angles here. You can see the same basic setup as the last two that we saw. And here's a layout of the basic wiring and the way it's set up, which is nice, clear way to see how the connections are made. In this case, we see it's, well, I thought it was soldered, but I believe these wires are maybe more, maybe silver plated or something there. It's a little hard to see. It looks silvery on the ends of the wires. So, and yeah, that's the basic setup there. The other pictures are all similar. So, okay, let's go on to another one. And I believe the name is Seaver on this replication. And you can see that he's used what looks to be a 9-volt battery in this case, which could work, I suppose, if it was depleted properly. And it seems to be a nano-coated coil in the middle, and the copper coil on the right, and the zinc plate on the left, as per usual. And I've got some pictures. I think we have, let me just see here. Elias, I've got some pictures from you. Would you like to comment on them perhaps, or maybe you have some other pictures as well? Let's see here. Got a picture of the coil before the nano-coating process. And during the nano-coating process. That's a nice clear picture. And then further progress as the coil is turning black from the effect of the heat treatment. Finally, we see most of the coil done. And here we see some completed coils. And a top view of the actual setup here. Any comments on that, Elias? Would you like to, did you have some results from the setup?
Yes, I certainly did. I made a few of these, and it turned out very well, although I think the battery that I was using was really, it wasn't exactly a dead battery. It was at least over 1 volt. It was low enough to produce some good results, but I think I should have used maybe something with more depleted energy. So I think my next time around, I'm going to use something that has a little bit lower power, maybe maybe half a volt or whatever, and see what I get.
Can we have the picture of the GANS? Because I noticed something. Do you have it, Elias? Hi, everyone.
I don't think I uploaded the pictures. I do have them now, and but I haven't really uploaded them from last time. I can probably maybe share them. I don't know if I can upload them now, so you can have a look. I'll see if I can try to get them. But in the meantime, you can just go ahead and discuss whatever. I got some pretty good results. My GANS was white. There were two colors. The first color was a creme, sort of like a creamy color. And then towards the end, it was like a whitish, more like a zinc layer on top of the creme layer. So it was almost like half and half. The first layer was sort of like creme, and then the other half on the top. Towards the end of the GANS making, it was more like a whitish. So it was sort of like a mixture of two colors.
The method of your burning the wire. In this way, you are dictate the flow, Elias. You know that.
The way I basically burned the or nano-coated the wire going in one direction, right? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes. From the bottom to the top.
Yes, I also tried the method as well that in Mr. Kesh's video, and I did it in one single direction as well as he did it. Of course, he started from one end and proceeded along the wire in one direction, and then of course he completed the ends, and that's exactly what I did. The only difference is I sort of wandered into a coil, and the reason for that is very simple, because I found every time I handled the coil by twisting it, some of the nano layer would come off. And so rather than have the nano layers come off, I decided, okay, let's try twisting it first and then proceeding to do the nano layering. I don't know if this is going to make any difference. I sure got better nano layer because of that, because it's less handling. And I'm not sure if I'm doing something wrong. I could not get the nano layers not to come off. I mean, every time I touch it, they would come off. And I used all kinds of propane torches. I used the regular propane. I used the MAP gas. And finally, I used butane. And I tried all the torches that I had.
That's to be expected, actually. In fact,
Oh,
Mr. Kesh mentioned it in passing during the One Cup, One Life video. He started with a straight wire in the video, and then he nano coated that straight stranded wire, similar wire to what you have there. But then he wound it as a coil after it was after the straight wire was nano coated. And he mentions while he's winding it that some of the, he said something like some flakes might come off or some of the coating might come off, but don't worry about that. Because he seems to indicate that for this particular cup, those bare spots or flakes that come off the nano coating are not something to be concerned about. Maybe it's even a benefit of some sort. Might create more of the copper, which is perhaps required in this circumstance. So that's the way I understand it. Can anybody else fill in for that or have another point of view?
That's why I would like to see the GANSes. Yeah, it is. If you can, Elias, please put it in.
Jalal, you want to
Yeah.
see the evidence?
No,
Okay, I'm
The
going to
autopsy.
upload them right now.
we are learning, huh? And by practicing, and there is nothing such a thing is wrong. We all right. But you know, from these experiments, we learn. That's all.
Mic check. Mic check.
Sorry,
Yes,
what was that?
We hear you, Dean.
Okay, good. Could I have video on here because I put one together?
Dean, let's try to fix your microphone first. It sounds terrible.
Okay, well then I'm gonna go get another piece, so I'll pop in once I get another microphone.
Okay, good. Thanks. Okay, we've got okay, let's see if we can find some pictures of GANS that was produced here. Let me see if I can find one in my files. And I've got a couple to show as well of my own setup that's that I found interesting. Does anybody else have something to
Hi, this is John.
Hi, go ahead.
Somebody was still doing a mic check. Hi, this is John.
Hi, John.
Yes, so I have a quick question. How long have you guys measured a creation time for the surface solution? And then how long for the settling time of the materials before capturing the surface solution? And then about how many washes or rinses do you guys do on the captured surface solution before ingesting it?
By surface solution, you mean the clear
Right,
liquid?
Yeah,
you
Kesh
don't mean
recommended the first
you don't
100
mean
milliliters.
right. You don't mean the amino acids that are on the actual surface of the material. Sometimes an oily sheen on the surface. You mean the surface as a few centimeters down, basically, from the top.
No,
of
I
the
mean, he only said to drink the top part of the solution,
Right.
not anything in the bottom.
Yeah.
And my question is specifically focused on, is there a window of time, you know, like you wait 8 hours, and then after the 8 hours, then you take the material, and then you rinse it, and then how many rinses, follow what I'm saying?
Right. Yep.
Like you hook up the battery for 8 hours, and then you disconnect the battery, and then you let it sit for 8 hours, and then you take the solution and like the first 100 milliliters, the surface, off the surface, and then rinse it, let's say like 8 or 10 times before drinking that. What does have you guys measured, put a timetable for all of that together?
Not really, because there's so many variances in the production. Some people are getting very little material after 8 hours. Some would get a lot of material after 8 hours. And it depends on the size of the jars, size of the plates, the coils, how much battery voltage, your local environment, what the atmosphere is like, your intention that goes into it, and a host of other things. And so there's quite a wide variance, and it's hard to say, do it for this amount of hours and do that for that amount of hours. And plus, if someone's dying nearby from the coronavirus, then you don't want to delay as much as possible, because it's important to have a treatment immediately if possible. So in that case, you might have there's ways of increasing the production, like with more battery voltage, or with bigger coils and bigger plate and more salt and all this kind of thing, in order for an emergency situation to generate something that you might be able to use within a couple of hours, say. But for other times, it might be better to, say you're going on a trip and you want to make some GANS water to take with you or something, then it might be better to have a more gradual process where you can control the effects better and get the product that you really wish to have. So, but what you said seems like a good general plan. Like you're saying, run it for 8 hours, and then you could take the battery off and allow it to settle. Or you can also just take off the top waters while the cup is still running, while the battery is still producing, and put that into some fresh water or distilled water or tap water, depending on what you have available, and dilute that several times. You may not have to go as far as 8 or 10 times. It depends on how much are you diluting it each time. Is it a 2 to 1, 5 to 1, 10 to 1, 100 to 1 ratio that it gets diluted? And that will, if you only have, say, 10 milliliters of your GANS water and 100 milliliters, or say a liter of water, then you've already got a 100 to 1 dilution ratio. But if you put 100 milliliters of GANS water into 200 milliliters of regular water, then it might only be like a 2 to 1 ratio, or 3 to 1, depending. So but what you said seems like a good general plan. And have you tried that already? Has that worked for you? Or is that your plan to do it that way?
Well, I've produced several types of. No, I just want variables, like if you are in a situation or if you want to help other people, like what the variables would be as far as time. But they seem to be variable. So
the variables are exactly that, variable. Yes.
Right.
But if you're producing some sort of GANS product, then that's a good indicator you're on the right path. And if you are producing it, that means you can basically start using it. You could actually use a syringe, for example, and suck up the material off the bottom and allow that to settle out in a different container if you wish. That's another way to do it rather than taking the top fluid. You can take the GANS out and have it, you know, and the top fluid too, and just, or you could even start a new cup with new salt in it, salt water in it, and transfer over the whole assembly to a new cup and use
Now
the
on the salt solution that he recommended, he didn't really say a specific type or a brand, but there are various differences in the types.
Yeah, you're having a bandwidth issue here, at least I am. And I think you're saying there's a lot of difference in types of salt.
You know,
Can I share with you, Rick?
Yeah, just a minute, Jalal. We have to get straight here with John. John, you're we're having a bandwidth issue, and your voice is slowed down extremely. You can't understand what you're saying.
Recommendations, you know.
Hello,
there's more
John?
rock salt.
Hello. There's a bandwidth
Yeah,
issue.
can you hear me?
And yeah, we can hear you now, but we couldn't hear you before because your voice was like stretched out extremely from the bandwidth. If you could just say it again, I think.
If you were to recommend a salt out of any common store, would it be something like Morton's table salt? Would it be
No, don't use table salt. It's got iodine in it.
okay, so what would you recommend? Sea salt?
Sea salt works good.
Okay.
And not the Himalayan salt. It's got too much iron in it. That's the red color. And there's other salts that could be used. Like Dan says, you could use pure NaCl if you can get it pure.
There's pickling salt, but that doesn't have iodine in it.
Yeah, that would probably be good. Mm-hmm. It's food safe and all that. So
if you have something pure like Dead Sea salt, that would be fine.
Depending on how pure it is, yeah.
Isn't there a lot of minerals and stuff though in that too?
Yeah, that's the thing about it. So, but any sea salt will be high in various minerals, depending on which sea it comes from and how close to the shore. But so there's yes, there's quite a wide variance just in the types of sea salt that are available.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Yep, try to get as pure as you can in terms of the salt and other things that you use. Although Mr. Kesh was clear that it's okay to use, in this case, tap water rather than distilled water, which we use in most of the experiments, because the tap water would have the local elements and local flora, you could say, of the area, which is important to incorporate into this particular cup.
Rick, can I ask a question about the tap water?
Mm-hmm.
What about fluoride and the other gases that they put into tap water? So is that okay? Will it evaporate off the tap water then for this circumstance?
Well, generally the fluoride is different. I'm not sure how that works. It's probably similar to the chlorine that's added to tap water to disinfect it normally. And the chlorine is that smell or taste that you might have for most of the city water. that tends to, I believe it evaporates after a day or two of, glass sitting out. It'll evaporate all the chlorine from it. So in this case, while the cup of life is doing its thing, I would think the chlorine would come out of it.
So it's basically off-gassing. It's not like the iodine in the salt then, not that type of situation.
I don't believe so, as far as I can tell, because we normally drink that tap water anyway. So it should be okay.
Thank you very much.
Can I use camera?
Yes, please, Jalal, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. This here, the setup. And this is for the second time. I take the whole contentment of this and put a fresh salt water. And you can use all three stages of this. It's better you take the whole water out and use it for spraying as a patches, or you use it for the breathing device. When you want to drink from it, you can take the ganses and you then wash only the ganses. And the water, when I wash this one, when I take when I put water here, I do not throw the water. No, I will put it with the same water which I take before, because now it's, let's say, 50% salt. The third time I wash, even I take and add it to the same water. I put it in a jar like this. All this salt water here, because this is you need it. Don't throw it away. You wash the GANS 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. Just the fourth time you can throw it away because there is no salt in, and you do not want to make the ratio of the salt of your content less. The 5th time you wash, you can drink from it. You will see there is no, maybe just a little bit. You cannot even notice it. And if you like, I can just bring water now and we can wash it, and you will see it will settle in not more than 15 minutes the first time, and the second time it will take about 5 minutes. The third time it will take about 2 minutes. More it goes fast, that means less salt in your Kansas. You can use this one as I done. It is a little bit bigger, sorry. Can you highlight the my picture? I don't see it. Small one.
That should do it.
Why I mute myself? Okay. So I use this one if I want to take the gases from this one. I just drop it in and take all the gases and put it here and leave it work as itself. I made this zinc plate as a spiral. It's very easy. Just I cut piece from this side and then I wind it and spare me a lot of zinc, and it's very beautiful. I can do it whatever I want, and this is very benefit, you know, you can benefit from it. How many times you can do with one plate? You can do more than 20 jar in this way. So that's all. So you need the water, the salty water. You need it for a different kind. You don't have to drink it. If you want, you can drink it also.
You can drink it, right?
Yes, yeah. You can drink it.
It's just
but if you don't want, you can spray it in the breathing mask, or you put tool in it, a towel, and you can put it in this breathing device because you are not taking it in. And if you want to drink, and you need to drink when it's necessary, you take the ganses and you wash them. The first time you wash, take the water and add it to your container, because you take all the water. The second time also put it to your container. You will see, you will test your water. If it's still salty, take this salty water, add it to your container. Don't throw it away. Unless it is real, there's no more salt in it, you can drink it, you can do whatever you want. You wash clothes with it, wash your face with it. So this fresh water, you can do everything with it. So if there's any question, I am here.
Any questions for Jalal? Must have been a pretty good presentation, I guess.
Yesterday I done it. I made a video for the Arabic community, and that's why I have everything here already.
Okay, I'll show some more here. If well, we got a couple hands up here. So first of all, Dean, did you get to say what you needed to say yet, or you have a hand up? Hello, yes, we hear you.
Okay, good.
It's a little far away. It's a little far away. You either have to get a little closer or something.
Is this better?
A little better. Go ahead.
My goodness, I really have problems with microphones. Can I have the video, my video to share?
We hear you now there. Have your video, pardon me?
Yeah, so I can share from my video.
Yeah, we'll have to promote you to panelist here just a second.
Okay. First of all, is my camera in the right direction? I don't think so. Yeah, okay, now I have, there we go. Okay. Can you get me back to, I guess I'm on, how do I put this full screen so I can see?
I should be able to see it.
There I go.
There
I go.
Yeah.
Okay, I started this process a day ago, and down there in the bottom, I have about half a cup, or what is it, 100 milliliters of GANS that has come. Now, the zinc that I used are just these zinc bars. And then I have the nano-coated copper right here. Now I have two different processes that I have used for the nano-coating. The small one the first one is done with fire. And the second one came from some of the stuff that I'd put in my garden. I'd nano-coated with fire probably 4 years ago. And I have the copper, non-nano-coated, and the zinc. And they're all suspended with copper wires. Now, I did not use a battery in order to make this. And so this and the copper, they are on one circuit. And then the nano-coated is on a second circuit. And because I didn't have a battery that was depleted enough, what I used was I just put and clipped them together, because I figured with the electrolysis that was going to happen and wanting a low voltage, that it may work. And when I saw how much GANS was produced, and this is my first GANS, by the way, I was really amazed. Now, a couple observations. Not on this particular cup of life. Well, yes, on this particular cup of life. But when Mr. Kesh went through the nano-coating of the copper in the video of One Cup, One Life, where he was twisting the material, I think the purpose of this One Cup, One Life is to be able to get something into people's hands immediately with materials that are on hand. And I think that's probably why the, non-distilled water, I used distilled water. And I used pure sea salt. That's what I used as far as the electrolyte. And so I didn't use a battery. I was amazed at how quickly everything formed. And that's the setup that I had. And I don't know about the color because it's just this beautiful milky white. It looks like clouds, or it looks like a universe forming. Anyway, that's my results, and I thank everybody because now I know I can draw that off of the bottom, how to wash it. And I'm just wondering, is this a GANS that is a mixture of the copper and the zinc because it doesn't have any of the color of the copper? Anyway, those are just questions. And with that, I'm going to, if anybody has any questions, they can ask. Otherwise, I will bow out and listen to wisdom that comes forth. Peace.
Okay, maybe you could keep, well, never mind. I was gonna say keep the picture there for a bit till we settle out here. Yeah, if you could hold it as steady as possible, that'd be good because it jerks around. It's beautiful.
Okay, let me see if I can just put it where.
There you go. Lovely.
It just, there we go.
Wide mouth. Right on.
Yeah.
Very good, Dean. I think that's terrific. You've created your first universe of GANs here. I think this is a big moment for you and for all of GANSdom.
Well, I get to share it now. And the zinc, right? I wanted to get pure zinc, and I had enough money, you know, $10, and I had the little nuggets delivered to my door in a couple days from Amazon or
okay.
I can't remember which one. And I just put in zinc, and so it's a great way to get, you know, I don't have Prime, but it's still, for the 2 bars I got, it was under $10 and delivered in a couple days through the United States Post Office.
Yeah.
So that's you know, all of the materials, you know, you can get them all together in a little packet. And I'm thinking about sending a little packet to people I know and love of, you know, just a little, you know, here's how to start your experiment. Here's how to have something growing and going in your house. Now I have a question. The energy, see, I've been here a long time, and I just never created GANs, because when the soul teaching started, it's like I really said, okay, if I can influence things with my soul, then that's, you know, easier than trying to influence things with just the physicality and brute force. But oh, I lost my train of thought. Any questions?
Well, I think that's a great idea to send off little kits to others. You could probably put in one instead of the 2 of the
oh yeah,
that's a lot of zinc, and it's a pretty, you probably get pretty good results even with 1 piece in there.
Oh, you could probably get, you know, just with a zinc wire and a coil, or just, you know. Oh, the other thing, as far as what Mr. Kesh was showing with the braided, or, you know, the stranded copper wire, is there's got to be so much more surface area on that than a solid strand of wire.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah, and I don't know if that would have a difference in the amount of production you get, because I use solid wire, but you know, with the zinc, there's definitely there's a lot of surface area there.
And you use 2 nano-coated coils, correct? One larger one, one smaller one?
Well, I had the nano-coated that I did with a fire. And then I had some stuff that I've had in my environment, in my garden, and that I had done for experiments years ago. And I just let it develop through the natural process beyond that for, you know, it's been 4 or 5 years that it's been, you know, drawing energy into the garden. So, oh, with this GANS, 1 Cup, 1 Life, it does have applications in agriculture also. Is that correct?
Sure. Yeah. Now, one thing comes to mind about this that it might be good to clarify, and maybe we can get some input from others about this idea. In the video that Mr. Kesh made, he didn't really talk about taking off the GANS from the bottom and washing it out and so on. He talked about taking off the fluid from the top and using that directly, either drinking it or putting it in some water to dilute it so it's not so salty. And I'm wondering if it's a different process to extract the GANS, wash the GANS, and then just be using the washed GANS water of the purified and washed GANS, let's say, as opposed to using what is in solution of this particular liquid that we see on top of the GANS here right now. So I'm putting that out as our like Jalal said, he kept all the wash water, but are we sometimes perhaps sort of throwing out the baby with the bathwater, as they say? In other words, maybe the best stuff is in just the water above the GANS, and we don't need to flush out and purify the GANS, and then just use like the distilled water that we put the GANS, mix it up with distilled water and flush it a few times, and then just use that water. Whereas all the rest of the actual salt water would be put aside in that case. Of course, it could be used for other purposes, but I'm suggesting that actual salt water that's generated by this process will have certain materials in it that are beneficial, and that it shouldn't be necessarily done away with or put aside. So what do people think about that idea? I'd like some feedback. Do we go with the GANS and the purified situation with the flushed and purified GANS and just use the water on top of that? Or do we extract some 100 to 200 milliliters, as Mr. Kesh suggested, from the top waters of what we see here right now and use that directly to ingest? Perhaps after letting it settle for a number of hours.
He did say to rinse the salt out of it, didn't he?
Yeah, and that's come up. You can rinse several times so that most or all of the salt is out. We don't taste the salt anymore.
Now,
I think some have said that it's okay to have it salty as well. So this is the question about that. I believe that came up in discussion somewhere. I can't remember exactly where.
Now, as far as giving the essence of the cup of life, I could take the GANS, put it into a container, a glass container, because say I'm going on an airplane, I only can take so much liquid with me, but I could take and put, 4 ounces of the actual GANS into the bottle, and then when I get to destination, put it into a glass, put water on top of it, and wouldn't that then be ready for consumption?
Once you let it settle for some period of time, yes. It might take a couple hours, few hours.
Okay.
Or depending how pure the GANS is and how pure the water is, how like salt water has a higher density than fresh water.
Right.
So the more you flush it, the faster the GANS will tend to settle out to the bottom, basically. So
Right.
it'll be less floating in there and more like it'll settle out quite quickly when it's mostly freshwater and GANS.
Tomorrow I'm going to the International Agricultural Convention, largest in the world. And
now you have a tool to take with you for show and tell, perhaps.
well, it's so large and it's international. I mean, it's the largest in the world. And I have, agriculture. It's like, if I can get a little vial of this and I can send it, that it then becomes the, the self-generating energies for growing bigger crops. There's no better place for us to get it out and through the world community than through the contacts of this particular.
Can you have a booth or some sort of tabletop setup that you'd be able to set up, or you have to have
not this year.
To be registered and so on.
Yeah, next year. No, there's
there's
over 200,000 people who will probably visit this in 3 days.
I wonder if you're allowed to have a canning jar of liquid to bring into the establishment, perhaps a battery and some wire and stuff at the same time.
What's better? What's better is a one-page. It is a card size handout that has a QR code on it that takes them right to the website. Because everybody who's there, they're there to sell, right? This is this may be their only opportunity for worldwide market, and it only comes once a year for 3 days. And so these people, 150,000, 200,000 people, that's a lot of people to talk to in a day. But
that's
I'm
what I
going
was
there
thinking. If you were just sitting on a picnic bench, for example, with this jar sitting in the sun that's creating this material as you sit, that would have to be a conversation starter. I mean, it kind of looks a little bit strange and menacing almost with all these wires and battery and so on. But if
that is true. It sort of does.
But on the other hand, it's people are going to wonder, what the heck is that? Let's check out this guy and what's he talking about? And if you had some flyers, or like you're mentioning, that'd be a great way to just sort of put the seed in this agricultural meeting. So it's important to sow seeds. And you would be sowing that particular seed of this that energy in there.
The reason that I never made the GANS, because the soul teaching came and it's like, okay, this is more up my line. Especially when we were talking about nano-coating, and then you had to discharge the plates every 3 hours, 24 hours a day, and the rest of the stuff I can't. I figured the technology and the factories were come on board so that I'd be able to buy it, and if wanted to retail, that where I'm going tomorrow, I can get information on people who are looking for new products to distribute. And some of these people I have real good relationships with over decades. I'll talk again tomorrow, because thank goodness the soul teachings are here again. But this is, there's my little miracle. And so I guess the stuff on the bottom and everything that's floating around, that's actually, I created GANS. Is that correct? Well, I didn't. I just created the environment that allowed it to manifest.
I think you did an excellent job, Dean. It looks beautiful.
Wow. Okay, now this has both, even though I don't have the green color that Mr. Kesh had, which would have been like the mixture of the copper and the zinc.
Yeah, it
But
does seem to have a slight tinge of the turquoise color in
right.
there. Does it look completely white to you when you see it in like natural light, like sunlight? Is there a slight tinge?
Yeah, there's a slight tinge. There's a slight
Yeah.
tinge.
Yeah, I think that would be a perfect mixture. I would be happy to share a cup with you.
Well, you know what? I figured, being part of the soul teaching, I figured in the time that I put in and the years that have been here and the intention that's been put into the land and everything, all of that must have gone into the actual creation. It must be stored. The intention must be stored within the physicality of the GANS.
Well, that's the great and wonderful secret of it all, I think. So, you know, everybody produces a different kind of GANs. It's hard to not have something different than someone else because there are so many variables and so on. But that's one of the biggest variables is that intention that goes into it. And it's interesting that, like you say, it's easy to kind of bypass the physicality end of things and just go directly to the soul teachings. And you know, why bother with all this physicality stuff? But on the other hand, we do have a physicality that we kind of drag around with us through this lifetime on this planet, and or it pulls us around, one or the other.
Yeah, one or the other.
And so we have to use physicality means in order to help that physicality keep on plugging along, and so that it's the vehicle that allows the soul to do its thing during this time on the planet. And
you know, my emphasis is probably, well, the arts and agriculture. And like I said, I just figured it's going to become available commercially, and I want to see what I can do with agriculture. You know, the miracle of growing and decomposing and composing again.
Can I have a question, please?
Yes.
Do you have amino acid in the surface?
I believe so.
So that is mean something wrong.
That means what?
Something wrong.
Something's wrong?
Yes. You should
Now,
not have any amino acid in the top.
Okay, now how do I tell if it's amino acid or not?
It's like some stuff, fatty stuff in the surface.
Well, I probably, let me see, I probably, can you see here?
sort of, it's hard to focus directly, but do you see like a shiny sheen on top of the water, like an oily sheen?
No, it doesn't look, nothing looks oily. And I did wash everything out before I put it here, but it looks like there's nothing,
not sure what we're seeing there right now, but yeah, so you passed the Jalal test then, in terms of if you don't have any amino acids, that's supposed to mean that you have a more direct connection with your soul, and the aminos aren't required for that connection or something like that. Is that what you're talking about, Jalal?
Yes, and Mr. Cash specific said, by this setup, you will not see any amino acid. If you see amino acid, that means something wrong with your setup.
okay. Well, I don't see anything that's like looking like a oil sheen or anything else like that on there.
Yes, because I saw this question in the Facebook. They are speaking about, do you don't you need to save amino acid? You will not have any amino acid in this setup. Absolutely none.
Now, with the setup, it seems to be working really well. Now, this is because I have an anode and a, that, what do they call it? Anyway, the different metals in their cathode and the electrolyte solution, is that why I have such good results as far as creating the GANS without a battery? Because I don't have any, I never put an energy source in here, but it certainly is
I
producing
think
like,
it's because you got, you know, really big anode there. You got a pretty hefty chunk of zinc, and that's going to want to make quite a bit of zinc oxide and help with the CO2 as well.
that's what I figured.
Now,
Okay.
if you're going to make something for agriculture, you may want to leave some of the copper aspect out of it. You don't want to have the copper oxide then as a decontaminant necessarily, because a little tiny bit of copper is okay, but copper generally is not so great for plants unless you want to get rid of bugs or something like that in certain places.
I had a question came up in my mind. One of the things that is a big challenge in the growing of fungus is a virus, they call it weepers. I don't know what its technical name is. But if this gets rid of viruses in humans, this should theoretically be able to get rid of a virus in a room and
There you go.
on.
That could be a really excellent experiment, actually, if you can somehow verify that or set it up so that it's a controlled experiment. Half the room is sprayed with, you know, GANS water, or you water with the GANS water, or both, or whatever system you have set up.
I probably need to get a hold of Penn State because they have the largest mycology, I think, in the United States. And weepers, that particular virus, it'll shut down. I've seen mushroom farms go bankrupt over that.
So if you'd be easy to specifically grow that then, right? And if you could grow it, then you could maybe show how it could be reduced by just spraying, you know, spray half of the harvest or whatever. You've got this
It
fungus
probably
all
can be done in, it probably can be done in Petri dishes.
Yeah,
You know, if this is a virus, I just need to get this to their lab because they have, you know, there's a, yeah, anyway, it's a problem. And when I thought about it, I thought, boy, you know, fungus gnats and you know, viruses that'll attack the fungus are two huge problems. I don't think it'll do anything for the gnats, but it certainly might do something for the viruses. I mean, if a virus is a virus, it's an energy packet. Okay. Well, guys, thanks for the time.
Thank you, Dean. Any questions for Dean? All right, that's very good. That's lovely, Dean. Really good to see. Okay, we've got a hand up here from, actually we had a hand up from Jose, I think it was earlier. Did you want to say something?
Yes, I want to make two questions, and they are involved in that process. And the first one is about nano-coating. And if you ever tried to nano-coat with candle, because I don't have a fire here and even an oven. And I tried with a candle and it was really black and it was hard to clean the the wire after that. And I understood that fixed the coating really well. And the second one is why we wash the salt. What's the purpose on that? Thank you.
Well, with the candle, were you able to heat the wire up red hot?
No, red, no.
Right.
I could not.
So what you'll get is the black coating will be mostly from the carbon in the paraffin of the wax.
Mm-hmm.
So you have like a carbon coating, but that's not a nano coating. It's a type of nano coating, but it's not the type that we're after. It should be a copper nano coating, not a carbon particularly.
Mm-hmm.
It might be a mixture of both in the way Mr. Kesh does it, but you need to be able to get it up to red hot in order for it to cool properly and form the nano layers on that black nano layer on the copper. So it takes quite a bit of heat to do that, usually a propane torch or some other larger fire. You could do it like in you know, if you can make a little fire somewhere and put the wire in the fire, you could do it that way. But it might take either a very large candle or a number of candles all in one area to get enough heat to do the nano coating with the candle, I believe.
How about, Rick? It's Peggy. How about a butane lighter, for example? Because I too did the first time I did the candle, and I had a lot of soot as well. And that's when we started discussing, you know, that, like Rick said, the candle soot gets in the way. And I've heard it said that you can use a butane lighter to do it. Since we're working with small wires, we're not working in large, you know, larger amounts. What do you think, Rick? Would that work still?
I think if it's a small wire, like probably 20 gauge or smaller, you could get away with that. Anything like a 14 gauge stranded wire, I think you'd have a pretty hard time getting it red hot with a like a Bic lighter kind of deal. And the thing with the lighter is you'd have to keep it open for quite a long time, maybe up to a minute or something like that. And most lighters aren't designed to go that long. They'll overheat and, you know, it could be detrimental, let's say. Or your finger will overheat as well from the whole thing getting hot.
Good point. I was thinking of the barbecue lighters that are the long butane ones, but yeah. I think you're right. Now that you mention, you know, as far as the length of time, even though, you know, you have that extension on there, it might very well get too hot for the butane that's in the plastic part. Good point.
There's probably some reference to that in the instruction manual that comes. It's usually a manual that comes with those devices. So they might say something about the maximum time to keep it open, to keep it lit.
One thing to consider is the temperature. Candles are nearly as hot. They're about 1400 Celsius, and then the butane lighters, or I should say the propane torches, are about 3600 degrees Fahrenheit or 1900 Celsius. So you're looking at a 500 degree difference in Celsius there for flame temperature.
Yeah, but even the you said it was about 1200.
1400. About
14 for the lighter.
No, for the candle.
For the candle. Okay. Well, technically it would be over the red hot temperature of copper, which is, I don't know, somewhere around 1000 or something, I think. But does it have enough total heat in order to actually heat up the copper? The copper dissipates heat very quickly, so will it actually get to that temperature you need the massive higher temperature and the bigger flame and all that generally to make it work better.
Can I pop in?
Mm-hmm.
Alcohol burns hot, and a alcohol burner that is used in a laboratory with the, what is it, 99% alcohol, burns real hot. And if you need to get it hotter, you can mount a little tube with a straw coming off of it in front of the flame, and you can blow through that flame, and that flame that from an alcohol burner with just your breath behind it through a straw is hot enough to melt glass.
Good point.
And alcohol is readily available everywhere. And if you can't find the 99% alcohol, there's, go to, depending on the country, go to the liquor store and you're going to find, what is it, 99 proof, clear, whatever. But alcohol works really good, and it's easy to contain if you're doing a lot of work, and it burns real hot. You can go to Wikipedia and look at the temperatures of the different color of flame that you have in alcohol, and it'll give you exactly where to put whatever you want to be working on. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other input on?
And I need temperatures above 800 degrees. Is that right? 1000 degrees?
We have to look that up. I'm not sure what it is for. Let me see. See if I can pull it in here. Looks like that's for different metal.
Unknown caller. Unknown caller.
Sorry about that. Let me see. I'm trying to find the temperature of copper when it gets red hot.
But I can find here. It's not a problem if it's difficult.
I'll get it up and report right back to you.
Yeah, I can't find it on the tip of my fingers here today. It's somewhere up around 800 to 1100 degrees, in that range.
Okay, Rick, no problem. And
what was your second question? Is that?
Yeah, it's about why we need to wash the GANS, because I heard different points, and one of that is when we wash the GANS, we also wash the fields. And then I asked Carolina, and he explained that when we need to wash to drink and we can use without washing in the patches. But and he explained about you need to taste, and if it's good to you, it's okay. But why do we need to wash?
Because salt water tastes not so good to some people. Like
Okay,
if you have really salty water, for example, if you were to drink a liter of salt water that has a tablespoon of salt in it, say, what is that, 10 grams or something in a liter. No, I think it's more than that, probably more like 20 grams. That's what, 2% salt. So if you were to drink that, or if you were to drink seawater, a liter of seawater, you would find it flushes out your intestines quite quickly. You would have to go to the bathroom, let's say, because it's at a different viscosity and different density, and it's actually becomes, when you add salt to water, it becomes similar to the density of blood. And our intestines are designed that if blood comes into your intestines, it purges them out. And you're not supposed to have blood or that consistency in there. It should be the liquid should be more like water. So anyway, that's one result. If you're to drink really salty water, it's most people don't like it. It doesn't taste good. So most people would flush until you have only a small amount of saltiness, or don't taste the saltiness, because then it's more pleasurable to drink it.
But Rick, maybe there is some other reasons also, because the amount of the water that we drink, it's not so much. And we add salt to our food also, because if you in the ocean, for example, we have around, I think, 3.5%. And I swim in the ocean a lot, and I drink water. It's not a problem because of the amount. I thought that could be something related to the content of the salt in the tissues. But at the same time, each tissue has different amounts. And that's why I'm trying to know more.
Well, some people use salt on their food and some people don't, I guess. Some people use a lot of salt. It's kind of a personal preference in some ways. But like you say, it's for patches and other applications, you may not want to dilute the salt. But on the other hand, if you put that salt water on a plant, you'll probably kill it.
Yeah, I understood this point. But okay, thank you. And I don't know why, but my other account is, I am from a Brazilian community, and my other account has a different name, Joaquim Ferrari. And this account has my whole name, and I tried to change, but I could not. But I am the same person. Thank you.
Okay. We'll try to remember that, I think. Okay, thank you very much. We have a hand up from Breatharian Institute. Would you like to go ahead?
Yes, thank you. So I first off, my one question that I have, and I did get an answer in the YouTube chat box about spinning the GANs, but I noticed when I made my 1 cup 1 life recipe, some of the nanoparticles did flake to the bottom to where I have some black flakes. Has there been a problem with my nano coating? I did it in a open fire situation where it turned red.
Yeah, that's a really good question, because I got some strange behavior that way myself in my setup. So I'd like to open that question up here for people and try to get some feedback. Were there black chunks coming off the middle electrode, the nano-coated copper coil? Did people get anything unusual, any unusual buildup on the coil, which is what I'd like to show? And were there any of the black nano coating? Did it flake off or otherwise come off into the GANs on the bottom?
I had a little bit of the flaking from the nano coating that went into the bottom of the GANs.
So should we wash our wires first after nano coating? Wash them with water or something?
No, I think the nano coating is made to give itself up in the process. Over time, the nano coating totally disappears down the bare copper when the nano coating has given itself up, and ending up with little particles in the GANs, as Takesh has described that. Sometimes you'll see that. I think while there's salt in there, it's still continuing.
Mm-hmm.
You're not touching the GANs. You're not using the GANs. You're using the water above the GANs.
Are you doing the 1 cup?
Yes.
So the video, what Mr. Cash is teaching, it's clear. Do as exactly what Mr. Cash done. Exactly what he is using, what he is putting. And if you want to drink, wash your ganses. Otherwise, you can use the salt for spraying, for all the sort of things. Breathing device. But if you want to drink it, if you can bear the salty water, you can drink it, but it's better to wash it. If you wash your gases only to drink, it's okay. Because now you are dictating. When you put at the mask, your body will receive what it needs from it. But when you drink it, you are dictating. This is the difference.
Thank you.
If you put it at patches or you put it in breathing device, your body will take from it what it needs.
And Carolina was saying, when your ganses are washed, they get together. They won't interfere with each other, but if they're not washed, they could interfere. And to keep it separate where you're making the one you're making.
Okay, can you repeat, please?
She indicated that when the GANs are washed and you washed all the salt water out of there, the process has stopped. and it's acceptable to store them near each other. While the process is going on, you could contaminate other GANSs. But once they're washed, they won't. In a
Okay.
storage situation.
Mhm.
We are speaking about one cup, one life. We are not speaking about different gases and the interaction between the other gases, what the others make. You have only one cup, which include this gases, specific gases for specific situation. You put this amount of salts to make the process quicker. If you want to use it as it is, you can use it by spraying only the water, the top water, spraying it in mask, or you put it in the breathing device, because this water will not come inside your body. But if you want to bring it inside your body, you need to wash it. And it's better to wash it, because now you have only the end. You are taking only the energized water from this cup. Once you wash it, as Mark said, there will be no interaction between the gases, the different gases. It will stop, but it will release only its fields. So the water what you have is energized with this fields, no more. If you keep it with the salt, it will still interact with each other. That's why if you need to see in the time, it will turn green. Also, it can turn blue, because they are all the time interacting.
And also, I tried 100 ml of it, and it had a slight, seemed like a metal taste, but there was no salt taste to it. But when I washed my face with it and the water got into my eyes, it burned. So that means there was still some salt, and that's one of the reasons of rinsing it out. Carolina said some people are more sensitive to the salt on the skin and so on, could leave a rash or whatever. It wasn't that bad. It's almost like crying. When you cry, you have some salt in the tears, but I could feel it just because I didn't rinse as much salt as I should have out of it. But to the taste, it was palatable.
Alrighty. Got Breatharian Institute to had his hand up here. I'd like to go ahead.
Okay, so is this a time for testimonials or is this not the time?
Sure, that's what we're here for. So if you have a testimonial, go ahead.
I do. So my partner has been on antidepressants for the past 4 years, almost, well, 5 years. And she's really worked to come off of them, but because they cause a condition where there's all of this fear and stuff built up behind the antidepressants, sort of chemically, it has made it impossible for her to come off of them. And what I did was the Breatharian Institute, we use divining to find scientific answers to things. So it's really gone amazingly working with these formulas because I don't have to experiment. I already have a 100% accurate technique for finding the answers that I need in this universe. So I divined a formula for her and didn't even tell her much about the plasma water because by this point I had been studying it for a few months and I knew it was just way too complicated to explain to her. I just told her, take this jar, shake it. While you're shaking it, have the intent of healing and take this much a day. And within about a week and a half, she said to me, she said, you know, I feel like I'm just taking poisons. I need to back off of this antidepressant. And within about 2 weeks of, or I think it was more like a week, I don't want to exaggerate though. So we'll say 2 weeks of graduating down with the antidepressants, she's now been off of them for about 2 months. And so the struggle that she has been struggling with for years, within about a month of taking the GANS was completely healed. So I thought that was a pretty amazing result, especially since she didn't even know really what it was. She just knew to shake it for the succussion and to take it in certain amounts. That's really all the information she had about it. So there's that. And I also have a lot of elders who live near me, and I've given them very similar instructions. And each year we think that a few of our elders are going to leave their body during the winter time. And every one of them has had the most healthy winter that they've had in years. And I live in a very sick town here. We have mining sickness from actually centuries of mining here in this town. So it's been a great place to experiment with the GANS, and we've just had excellent results in helping elder people as well as ourselves to stay very well during the winter time, which most of the people here spend a good deal of the winter time sick if they're not taking pharmaceuticals. So that's my testimonial. And so I did want to give the gentleman who is the mycologist who was asking the question about the cup of life with the mushrooms earlier. And I don't have any experience with the cup of life and mushrooms, but I've been into mycology for some years now. And so when I began working with the GANS, what I found is that most of the mushrooms require something like a 25% zinc oxide, 35% CH3, and 40% CO2. And this, when I do my grain-to-grain transfers, I'm using this formula to give the grains the plasmatic energy. And what I found is that I have had no disease problems with my mushrooms, from enoki to portobello, shiitake. And the one formula that's slightly different is the morel mushrooms tend to need less zinc oxide and more CH3. And I believe it's because they don't need the emotional support from the zinc oxide so much because I plant those directly into the soil, so they have the earth to work with. So I thought I'd offer that out to him. And that's all I really have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Rick, can I share a video, please?
Okay.
That when you make the fresh water will be salty. Try to wash the salt off. You wash it, you let it settle, you put more water in it, you let it settle.
Did you hear that?
Yes. Try to wash the salt off.
Yes.
Every day, you just wear the mask. And then you have to make sure that when you make the fresh water will be salty. Try to wash the salt off. You wash it, you let it settle, you put more water in it, you let it settle. And in that process, you go as much as you like.
Is it okay now?
So wash the salt out as much as we like, basically.
Yes.
So that's end the, the subject.
Thank you, Jalal. That's helpful.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? We have Gino with his hand up here. Would you like to go ahead, Gino? You'll need to unmute your microphone, or we can.
And for the salt, you use kitchen salt.
Kitchen salt.
Yes.
With iodine in it, you mean?
There is no iodine.
There is in most kitchen salt. What do you mean by kitchen salt?
That is cooking. There is difference between cooking salt, that means the kitchen salt, cooking, and
Okay,
the
that
table
would
salt.
be what's sometimes called pickling salt, I guess, was brought up earlier. It's usually a coarse kind of salt.
Without iodine, yes?
Without the iodine, yes.
Okay. Because in Brazil, every cooking salt, they are obligatory to add iodine here.
Right, yeah. What they call table salt, right?
Yeah.
And Mr. Cass said specific.
Mm-hmm.
Where your environment, use everything from your environment, because to that, even if the salt have iodine or whatever, use it. Don't be afraid of it because it contains in your body. You understand? Even the water. Why he said tap water? He didn't say bring another water. Because your body is used to that, make the condition. So he's changing the condition for that. Use everything from your environment. If it's the salt, if it's the water, if it's even the copper, it's from your environment.
And for Brandon, I'd just like to say, I use a saying that the GANS is such a sensitive entity. Mr. Cash said, when you're holding the cup of life before it even, now we're talking cup of life, which is different. The GANS is taking from your body what it doesn't need and giving to your body what it does need. That's the kind of sense that the entity has.
So it's already working before you even take the first sip or the first spray.
As soon as your hands touch the cup.
Okay, Gino, are you able? Let me try to unmute and see if I can get you to speak there. The unmuting's not working, so you'll have to unmute at your end if you wish to speak. Okay, we've got a couple more pictures from Elias here. Let me show them. We asked to see some of his results of his 1 cup, 1 life experiment. And we can see here. Do you want to explain, Elias?
Yes, the cup on the left that's labeled 1 cup, 1 life is my first what I call batch. I used the slightly higher energy, and as you can see, it's slightly more whitish as a result. And I had 2 layers forming. The one on the bottom was more like a creme, off-white, and the one on the top was more like a white, bright white. Now, of course, because I harvested the GANS, it's all mixed up now, but you can see the difference between the one on the left and the one on the right. The one on the right is my current production as of probably about 30 minutes ago. It's more of a light creme color because I'm using much less energy. And so I think the one on the right is uh, probably more what Mr. Kesh is looking for. He doesn't want us to use a lot of energy to produce this GAN. So I think the less energy, the better. So these are the 2 different results that I'm getting right now. And if you can show the next picture, Rick, I think I sent 2 of them.
Yes, let's get this lined up.
And here's my latest setup, which is what I'm running right now. You can see they're all more or less the same color. They're all operating under the same conditions. Each jar is getting roughly the same amount of energy. I am running, of course, instead of connecting it to a battery, I'm connecting it to a regulated current power supply. And I'm running right now 12 milliamperes maximum, no more than that.
So is this would be like the sort of the starship configuration in a way?
Yes, yes, I arranged them in a triangle, uh, and so they're producing fairly well. This is actually my second refill. So the first batch is already the one you saw in the jar on the left, and this is my second refill. So what I did, I harvested the GANS, and then I just refilled them with salt water, and they're starting to produce again, and I'm getting pretty good results.
Elias, be careful not to fly.
I know. That's my worst fear. If it flies, I want to be in it. Jalal, you have to help me to. You have to be my pilot.
Yeah. Join the group.
I let you know when I'm ready, and you can jump in.
Join the group. We all will fly one day, no problem. One time I hear Mr. Cass said, flying is easier than drinking water. But how you will live there?
But
We need to understand.
Elias, where's the spring?
You are cutting off, Mark.
No, I was just telling, I said, Elias, where's the steering wheel?
Where's the steering wheel? He said. Steering wheel is you. Steering wheel is your brain. Perhaps your soul.
One thing I would like to add for everyone to be very, very careful when they're selecting the wire, the copper wire or so-called copper wire. There are some wires that are actually made of aluminum, and they're coated with copper on the outside. And the only way you can tell is once you start heating them with your torch. If they're made of aluminum, they'll melt right away. And instead of having a nice black sheen on the copper wire, it'll turn basically silver color, and it'll just melt into a puddle. And I've actually had that happen to me. I ordered some wire from Amazon, and so once I started nano coating the wire, it just melted into, like, it just right away it melted. It couldn't take the heat. And then I looked at the surface. It was all silvery, like silver. And so I realized immediately that it wasn't copper. And so I didn't use it. So that's just one thing to be careful, and make sure basically that your wires are black. If they have a nice black color to them, chances are they're made of copper, and you don't need to worry about it.
Okay. Does anyone else have something they'd like to bring forward here? CM's checking the Q&A here. Dirt Riders says in the YouTube, I did this at home with just what I could find laying around, some 12 gauge solid copper wire, a zinc plate from a AA battery that I cut up with an X-Acto knife, some stranded copper wire, and a dead AA battery. Thank you, Dirt Riders. Edwin mentions in YouTube, I had good results using table salt with iodine. Made a beautiful white puffy GANS material. The voltage was 1.3 volts and 8 hours in a liter mason jar with 150 grams of salt.
Hello? Mic check.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I haven't found the temperature of alcohol yet, but in order to get the copper at the temperature of aniline, it's 1,110 degrees to 1,290 degrees. And the melting point of copper is 1,975 degrees. And what happens if you're working with copper and you pound it and you beat it, it becomes work hardened. And by annealing the copper or bringing it, annealing the copper, it brings it so it's soft again and pliable. And in order, it says to immediately quench. But if you immediately quench after you've done the nano coating, most of the nano coating will come off. Anyway.
And what was the temperature of that?
It's 1,110 Fahrenheit to 1,290 degrees Fahrenheit.
Right. So that's probably about 800 or something Celsius or something like that.
Right. So you have to have a sustained temperature of at least 1,110 degrees in order to get it nano coated.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. Now we have Freed. Freed, I believe you've got some pictures for us. Let's try to get that lined up. Let me make you a panelist first. Also known as Alfred. If you would like to, you've got some pictures that you can show us, correct? Here we go.
It was about 16 hours then we started. And what I did first wrong was that I submerged the copper wire under the water so that nothing happened then. So I had to take it out of the water, and then I love these bubbles. I think they are fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was done with an almost empty battery. I first used a zinc chloride battery, but probably that also didn't work because zinc to zinc battery, I am not sure. So this is now an alkaline battery. I try to find the other one. I don't know if
Were all those three wired together?
So that was my wire setup. It's very easy. The zinc plate, the copper spiral, the nano-coated spiral in the middle, and then just a wire which is used to connect to the ends. So I saw this before, so it was not only mine, but I think that is the most easy. And also what I heard, that the battery, when it's too low, it would soak water into it. So I put it a little higher so that it cannot not take water. I'm not sure if that is necessary, but I did it.
It's probably a good idea. What happens is the salt water can creep inside the insulation of the wire and get, by capillary action, it can be drawn up the wire, yes, or down the wire, especially down the wire if the battery's low, and it can start dripping out if that insulation is down inside the liquid, as you were saying. So
exactly.
That can
yes,
mess up the connections with salt all over the battery and the connection.
Yeah, yes. And what I wanted to say to Dean, if he still is around, I wanted to ask, where is that convention? And that when he wants to make small cards, that he could put the kfwiki.org address, so then nothing else is needed to put on. The wiki, kfwiki.org, is the best address that we can have for everyone who wants to know more about it. I make myself small cards where I put on the one side cashfoundation.org, and on the second side the eight fields of working, and then kfwiki.org. So that is, and I will one make for the Cup of Life too. So it's a very small card, and I put them everywhere.
Hello, this is Dean. Now, who am I speaking? Who is speaking?
This is Fried, and I'm from the Netherlands.
Fried. Okay, the location of the agricultural exposition is Tulare, California, United States of America.
I see.
And I will be going on Wednesday, and I have made the printable cards, you can do on your inkjet.
Yes.
The business card size, and I've handed them out before. So yeah, that is something that I could do.
So put kfwiki.org on it, because there everybody can find whatever they want.
Right. Well, I'll probably
put... way.
Boy, it's so noisy around here, excuse me. But they're wonderful four-legged critters. Yeah, that's a good idea. But with this particular, I don't know. Yeah, I might put different bullet points.
At the kfwiki.org, on the first page, it's already a very, very strong link to the One Cup, One Life. So it's everything is there.
I'll have to think about the graphics and put something together.
Yes.
And thanks.
Okay,
Dean,
good.
excuse me
Yes.
1 minute, Dean. It's Peggy.
Hi, Peggy.
Do you have access, brother, to Facebook, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, there is a post that Carolina had put out, and I think maybe Rick as well, but it's been cycling around. If you can find it, it's actually the Cup of Life video, but somebody did one of those little emblems that you can take a picture
Yes,
with
I know.
your, okay. So have you seen that? Because that
Yes,
would
I
be
have.
something you can print on your card.
Yes, I have.
Okay, very good.
Yes, I have. Yeah, that's very good.
Thank you.
Oh, by the way, Dean Hansen Kingsburg, my, what do you call it? Facebook is so worth following, because things that end up on there are new technologies for building Kesh Foundation, gardening, and the rest of the stuff. So just, and I don't put a lot of politics on there because I'd rather create something than try to fight something that should have never been there.
What was the last word you said? You said Dean Hansen. Did you say Kingswood?
Kingsburg, Kingsburg.
Very good. Thank you.
You got it.
Just showing you our wiki here on the home page in the English section, and also I believe in the Germans too, German section that's finished. Solutions for the coronavirus. And then we have different links here, Corona Tracker, Virus Blueprint Day video, the 312th workshop is all transcribed here in full with a beautiful table of contents. Takes you to many different sections, full transcript there, or nearly full transcript. And then One Cup, One Life section, along with a full transcription of the video with pictures. And thank you to Andres Fugger and Elias for doing all of this work and keeping the wiki going here in English. Is there anybody else?
Just trying to get a couple of photos set up, but
I have a question. Are the bubbles that come up through the electrolysis that is making the GANS, is that hydrogen being released?
not sure if it's hydrogen or oxygen that's being released. You could use a lighter or a flame to see if it bursts or pops when it comes to the surface.
I believe it's hydrogen, Rick, because that's the standard electrolytic or electrolysis reaction. And so it would have to be hydrogen. And you have to keep it away from sparks. Although the small little bubbles, once they start, popping up, they're very, very tiny. So it's not really much of a hazard. But if you were producing this at a very high rate, production, you may get accumulation of hydrogen, especially if you're in a enclosed space, a very, very small space where the hydrogen would collect up. But because it's an open area, fairly well ventilated, there's no danger there.
However, the hydrogen could be collected and used as a heat source once you have the process started in order to keep on heat coating the copper. So that's pretty easy to capture. Okay, that's good.
I have a question for Brandon. Are you here yet, Brandon? Hello? See you there in the list, Breatharian Brandon.
They were here earlier. I'm not sure if they're able to speak right now.
Mm-hmm. I was just curious on the ratios of the GANSs that he used to get his friend off of depression meds.
I think he mentioned it. Can you recall? It was
I think it was 40,
Sorry?
30, and 30, but I'm not sure.
40% what?
40, 30, and 30.
Of what?
I don't know. I don't recall.
I
think
I
it
don't
was
remember.
40%
I don't remember.
zinc. I recall that, and I think it was 30% CO2.
I think the breakdown was 40, 30, and 30 percentage wise.
Of zinc, CO2, CH3?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think we're going to have to. I think we're going to have to listen to the playback on this one. I know he gave different combinations for growing fungus, but I don't remember if he gave a different combination for the depression.
No, I don't. No, he didn't.
That's what I thought.
Mm-hmm. Gino, I see your mic's open now. Did you have a question from earlier?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, that's great. I watched this video, One Cup, One Life, but apparently it disappeared. I tried to download it here. They're asking me to install all these different apps here. I was wondering, the copper spirals, do they have to be connected, both of them on the negative or on the positive?
Mr. Kesh only connects the top of the spiral coming out of the jar.
Well, on a battery, we have two poles. We have negative and positive. Should the copper be connected to the positive or to the negative?
The copper that's not nano-coated, the bare copper, you mean?
Yeah, the
bare
copper.
copper. I mean,
the
are
copper
the
spot.
two different coppers, the nano copper treated with heat with the flame, and the bare copper have to be both connected to the negative pole? Or
No, it's the two outside ones you said, which is the zinc plate and the uncoated copper are connected to the positive terminal, and then the negative terminal is the nano-coated. And nothing should
so
touch
the bare copper
inside
and
the
the
jar.
zinc, they go on the positive. Is that correct?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay.
And then,
This is I cannot see in the video. You know, I don't remember.
yeah, he
seeing on the
he clearly says that in the video.
Well, the video is gone. I tried to download it, but it's hard to hear. The download I have is has a very bad, faint sound. So the natural copper and the zinc, they go on the positive.
Yeah, they're wired
that correct?
together. Yeah, they're wired together, and then he puts
They're
the
wired together to the positive pole. Okay.
and negative
Would
on
that
the nano-coated, and nothing in the jar should touch each other.
Okay. Okay. It placed something on top of the glass in the middle there. Is that to hang the nano-coated copper?
Yeah, it was a solid piece of copper wire just to hang the nano-coated on, and then one end is he looped around a wire to get it down to the negative post.
So the nano-coated copper treated with the flame, it needs to be in the center inevitably, or it can be on the side?
Center.
It should be in the center.
Yeah.
All right. It's recommended to be in the center.
Yeah, and the other two are on the sides, and you want an even distance between the two so that you have even fields between the two different types of materials of copper and zinc. If you have a space difference, you're going to get different fields, which is going to either make more CuO2 or it's going to make more CO2.
Mm-hmm.
So you want it evenly spaced as much as possible. Again, just it seems really simple, but it apparently is very difficult for everybody just to follow what Mr. Kesh does exactly.
Okay. This company, apparently, they sell the actual gunk, different types of gunk for different type of indications, you know, conditions. I mean, because I've seen something on the site that I was the other time, I checked the links below the video, the original video, that there are some products that they sell.
Which site?
I don't know. Beneath the original video, I don't know what happened to this video. Why it was removed from YouTube? Was it?
YouTube decided to do that.
We're negotiating with them.
Yeah, we're trying to get it back. But in the meantime, I put out here in this chat the mega link, mega.nz link.
Well, I downloaded the video. Apparently, someone sent me a link where I could download the actual original video, but the sound is very, very bad.
You can use a VLC player, and VLC player will go up to 140, 150% volume, so you can at least hear it better.
All right. Could I post it on my channel, or?
It's a public video. Yes, you can post it anywhere.
Oh, okay.
Put it on Facebook, put it on your YouTube channel, put it anywhere you want. We need to get it out into the public as much as possible worldwide.
How many languages?
Yes.
Now too? It's in several languages, right?
Well, I've shared the video with some sites that they're from China, you know, and people posting stuff there, you know, and share it with different links all over, but I don't know why YouTube has done this. It's pretty sad, you know. I mean, these people.
Yeah. They say it's violated their community
Guidelines.
Guidelines. It's like what? Exactly which ones have been
Violated
violated?
community guidelines for posting a
Yeah.
video on how
Yeah.
to make some nano. Unbelievable.
So we're trying to
I
get
don't
that
know what
fixed
kind of
now.
agenda they have.
Trying to get that fixed now, but in the meantime, we have links in the what do you call it? The server. What's it called? Mega server.
You don't have a copy of the video by any chance with good sound that you could email me and I can download it on my hard drive? Or my...
Hello, are you listening to what I'm saying? I'm trying to tell you where the links are for the videos that you can download, which are in the mega file that Flint has posted. You posted that, right, Flint? In the
yeah, I did
chat?
post it. It's right here too. That's what it looks like.
Right. So what languages do we have here? We've got,
well, obviously English, and then these dubbed ones. We have in Arabic. I don't know why it's an hour and 4 minutes in Arabic. Maybe he played and then talked. But then we have dubbed ones in German, Spanish, Persian, and Portuguese. And then, of course, we have various, these are all subtitle files. Chinese, German, again, Chinese simplified, English, and French, Polish, Portuguese, Romanian.
okay, so do some of those languages help you?
Well, definitely, yes. The problem is the one I've downloaded in English, the sound is very, very bad.
Yeah.
It's so faint.
Try getting this one here. This first one here is the original English file. And
Yeah,
then you
the
can
sound
use
should be good in that.
Yeah, I do admit this one is a little bit faint, but you can use VLC player to enhance the audio up to like 150 or 200%. So yes, this should be probably a better version than what you have in English.
There's also the Spanish voiceover that might be interesting.
Yep, all these down here, these pictures down here are all the different language voiceovers that have been done so far. Arabic, German, Spanish, Persian, and Portuguese. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's a handy link to have, at least for now, until we can make sure the YouTube videos are secured. We won't know about that for probably another day or two. Okay, I've got, go ahead. Are you going to say something?
Oh, I was going to say another thing we probably could do if it's not already done is upload this video into Facebook directly and share that Facebook link for people to use. And also we can get it into our live stream channel that people can watch from there.
That's a good idea too.
Well, we're at the 2.5 hours here.
Yeah, I've just got some pictures I want to share first. I'm just going to put them all up together. And I have a question about this. I think this sort of works. Okay, these are, you should be able to see some pictures there now. This is of my setup that I have of the 1 cup, 1 life process. And I started accumulating this white substance on the center nano-coated coil. And I thought that's very strange. And the stuff would deposit. There was chunks coming off the coil, black pieces that would drop to the bottom. And eventually I got into what you see in this picture, which is very odd, I thought, and starting to actually create a structure with these tendrils, white tendrils that come off the central piece. And the coil or the black nano coating is now going off of the coil and outside of the white coating.
The black is the DNA and the white's the RNA.
Maybe. We're definitely playing here. Dean, your video's on.
I'll stop it there.
There we go. Yeah, so quite interested. I'm wondering if anybody else is getting a white coating on their central nano-coated coil. I can't understand why mine would be different than everyone else. Although I did use a kind of an odd salt. It was a local sea salt, and I'm not sure how it was obtained, but it's available locally from West Coast ocean salt. So maybe that has something to do with it. I'm not sure. I did all the rest of it. The connections are correct on the poles and whatnot. The only thing I did different is I hooked the wire to that, to the wire that goes across the top of the cup. I hooked one of my wires to that rather than directly to the nano-coated wire, but the nano-coated wire is hanging off that central wire that's across the cup. So I don't think that would affect things. Boy, it's interesting. So what's happening now is this is the second round, and the first round was similar, had the white coating. I chipped it all off. I reused the coil without re-nano-coating it. And this is the second time around, and all of this black coating seems to be forming, which also, when I let it sit for a day or two, it seems to start turning gray rather than black, which is also interesting. So I'm not clear whether this is actually the nano coating that's come off the coil, or it's some other process that's creating a black substance inside or on top of this white coating that's on the coil. So very strange.
Rick, do we know the brand of the salt that was used?
Well, like you say, it's a locally made salt that came from the Pacific Ocean here. It's supposed to be sort of a boutique salt. It was, quite expensive and special kind of salt. But I think maybe that might have influenced the experiment. I'll try another one with just regular sea salt and see what comes up with that.
I had a similar result as this when I used Epsom salt. I used Epsom salt, which is magnesium sulfate, and I got exactly the same results as depicted here. I had a lot of the white material coat the coils, and looks very, very similar to what you have here. So that's probably just the magnesium. So the salt that you are using may have a lot of magnesium in there, and hence we're getting this coating around.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. I wonder if the black is something else that's coming out of that salt condition as well. Because when I did it the first time, the black didn't seem to be that much gone from the coil. I expected the coil to be almost bare copper, but it wasn't. And this is what formed after the second time from the coil, which seemed like it had just a thin nano coating, but yet all this black came off, which is hard to believe that it would, that much of it would come off of the coil. So anyway, it's a bit of an anomaly, kind of fun to watch, and I'm really interested in this growth, the tendrils coming off of this coil. The first time it formed in the first coil, you can see in the upper left picture up here, the white covering was very even, and only a bit of black started protruding from that even coating. And you can see even in the middle and top right pictures, it's similar. It's fairly even coating. But in the second time around, the bottom two pictures, that was after the coating was taken off. I actually washed the nano-coated wire and got all the white off of it, put it back in, and within a day, it was doing what you see in the two bottom pictures. And when I shake the jar a little bit, that bottom middle picture here, you can see a cloud that came out of the nano-coated coil when I just sort of tapped on the jar or on the wire going across the top, this wire here that you see. When I tapped on that, I ended up with what you see in the bottom part of the picture, whereas this cloud formed mostly at a certain layer, a certain level toward the bottom of this coil. You can see it kind of shoots out horizontally, and it stayed that way for quite some time before it started to settle out toward the bottom. Something special going on there. I'll report more on it next time when I find out more information. Try the other experiment with another kind of salt.
Were either one of those touching the bottom of the glass?
Nope. Nope, they weren't touching the sides or each other or the bottom. Yeah, I was surprised.
I mean, the nano coating is supposed to be gravitational, yes? But this is over the top.
Yeah, it seems to it's sucked down to, I'm not sure if it's a salt covering or like a zinc oxide type covering. I don't think it's salt because I tried to dissolve it in some water and it didn't want to dissolve too readily.
We'll have to look into the ocean and see what's going on there.
Yeah, like you mentioned, like something growing near a lava tube deep in the ocean. It is very much like that. It's strange, almost stalactite type of action there. Deep in a cave in the west coast of Canada. That's me. All right, anybody else have anything they want to share, or shall we wrap it up for today? right, well, people can, just a reminder, you can download the 1 cup video at the mega link, and let me put that into the other. Oh, I can't easily because I'm on a different computer.
I did put it into Facebook and.
Oh, you did? And live
YouTube.
stream, maybe?
Not live stream yet, no.
Can you access the live stream to do that? Because I
Sure.
can't cut and paste into it. I'm on a separate computer on the live stream screen right now.
Oh, okay.
And to try to type in $, exclamation, R, F, W, I,
I
etc.
can do it.
would wear me out. Thank you. Gino, we're still trying to get you there. I saw your microphone. It's all good? Okay, because the hand was up and I redid the allow to speak thing. So I'm not sure if there's anything else they wanted to say. Anything
Hello.
else? Yes, hi.
Hi, it's Gino.
Yes, anything else you wanted to add?
Yes, I was going to ask, instead of, salt, could sodium bicarbonate could be used? If the salt is used as a catalyst, I mean, does it have to be salt, or it could be any other catalyst?
It's not really a catalyst so much as it creates the environment for the plasmatic reactions to take place, for the fields to interact.
Okay.
So it has to be some kind of salt. Sodium bicarbonate is a salt of sorts. You could try it, but
Yes.
I don't know if you get results or not. It would definitely be different.
Okay.
Same as if
So
you
it is suggestible that it would be sodium chloride.
Yeah,
which is table salt.
It's not table salt, but either table salt is iodized salt, and generally that's not recommended, although it was mentioned earlier that we could use iodized salt because that's what people use every day to sprinkle on their food. But generally, it's usually a sea salt that gets used.
Sea salt, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, salt is basically sodium chloride salt.
Primarily.
I mean,
yeah.
Yes. Suggestible sea salt instead of the table salt. Is that what you mean?
There's what's called cooking salt that doesn't have the iodine in it, if you prefer it that way.
Okay.
Some people, like Joel
Well,
mentioned,
usually sea salt has iodine in it. There is a certain amount of iodine in sea salt.
There will be trace amounts of it in sea salt as well. That's true.
So iodine is not suggested to be in the salt being used.
Well, in previous experiments, that was the way it was. For the for the 1 cup, 1 life, it's possible that it doesn't matter so much in that instance. Perhaps the iodine from regular table salt might be okay in that case. I'm not clear. Jalal seemed to think that it was okay because we use, we're also told that it's okay to use tap water for the experiment rather than distilled water as well. Normally we use distilled water.
Mr. Cash said in this video, kitchen salt, specific kitchen salt.
Kitchen salt. Well, kitchen salt could be table salt, could be sea salt. Well, that's what
cooking salt. Sorry,
cooking salt, yeah.
Cooking salt, yes. Exactly.
Yeah, so cooking salt's different than table salt. That's the idea there. Table salt having the iodine and cooking salt not having the iodine. So,
okay.
Some
just as a general rule, whatever materials, how minute or not they are, that are in the salt or other items that you're using inside the jar are going to be made a GANS. So if you have salt that's got 72 minerals in it, you're going to be making GANSes of 72 minerals.
Right. And in an emergency situation, are you going to, with only hours perhaps to live or a day, are you going to be debating?
Well, that's the thing about it. And, in an emergency situation, we won't have the time to sit around and discuss it all. You just do it with what materials you have available.
The low voltage apparently is what.
The low voltage apparently is what? It broke up there. The low voltage is, can you say again? Sorry, your connection seems to be lost. Okay, and we have a note from Breatharian Institute, Brandon. The formula for cutting back or getting rid of antidepressants was 10% CH3 GANS, 15% zinc oxide GANS, and 75% CO2. That's for a female. For a male, a good formula would be 25% zinc oxide, 75% CO2 for a week or two. Then starting with 5% CH3, 20% CH, I think he means something different there. 5% CH3, 20% zinc oxide maybe, and 75% CO2. It's got CH3 twice. He says, I don't know why, but men do not require CH3 in the beginning, but women require this support. Men need more ZNO in the beginning than women. So that's according to his divining techniques. Yes, that was starting at 5% CH3, 20% zinc oxide, and 75% CH3 after a week or two, apparently. Okay, well, generally we don't get into too many specifics on specific health ailments like that, but that's sort of a guideline for people if they want to experiment with that. Okay, anybody else have something they'd like to bring up? I'm going to stop the share here, Flint, if you want to take over. And I think we can wrap things up.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you, everyone, for your contributions today. For those that did, and thank you for joining us. So coming up tomorrow, 4 p.m. Central European Time, is going to be the One Planet, One Race, One Nation meeting. So please join us then. Could be some more talk on this or not. Don't know usually to the last minute what the topic is. And then on Wednesday morning, 7 a.m. Central European Time, is Kesh Plasma Reactor Group with Rick Hammond. And then, of course, on Thursdays at 9 a.m. Central European Time is going to be our Knowledge Seekers Workshop. So, going to have an active week this week in the foundation. Of course, you can always apply to become a student, and that's at kfssi.org. Or you can visit cashfoundation.org under the education link there and also apply to become a private student. We have classes 5 days a week. And we are now focusing on 23 different groups of how to do or make certain types of devices or things in our private classes. And if you want to join to learn on all of those different topics, you certainly can. Next month will be the 40th Testimonials meeting, and that'll be on Monday, March 9th. And of course, this year's leap year, February 29th, that's kind of just a side note to point out. A little bit longer month this year for February. Any other announcements you can think of, Rick?
I think that's it. We might have the YouTube video come back, and we'd like to keep promoting that if we can get that back up on our YouTube channel. It's become our best viral video, I think. It had 114,000 views on it before it was taken down. It was going toward viral very quickly, which is funny because it's a video about viruses going viral. So that's a funny kind of analogy there, but it's very appropriate. And I think we have to kind of fight to make sure this technology gets accepted. And part of that is having YouTube accept our explanation of how Mr. Kesh's explanation of how this works.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
So you're saying the video itself stopped itself from going viral because it's antiviral?
Perhaps the GANS
Yeah,
mentioned in the viral caused it to not go viral. It's got a built-in limiter in it.
But Mr. Kesh did say the 10-cent News had it on their front page, homepage, which is the biggest internet provider in China.
That's probably one of the reasons it was going so viral in YouTube, is because of the Chinese hits on it. One way or another, the info will get out to the universe. I am sure. Okay, thanks, Flint. Thanks, everybody, for another great testimonials meeting here. Thanks for the participation and questions. See you next time around. Do you want to wrap it, Flint?
Yes, this has been the Kesh Foundation Spaceship Institute 39th Public Testimonial Meeting for Monday, February 10th, 2020. We'll see you all tomorrow and during the rest of the week, and also next month for our next testimonial meeting. Have a great rest of your day, afternoon, or evening. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Hello. We are the Kesh Foundation. Our mission is to bring peace on Earth and join humanity with the universal community. We wish and work to bring man as equal to all beings in the universe. By teaching plasma science and technology equally to everyone, no one is left out and no one is abused due to lack of knowledge. By donating to us, you can help achieve this goal. keshfoundation.org www.ccc.org/donate.